Independent Journal Review for Wednesday, December 17th. Recently released video of the interrogation of John Crawford's girlfriend shows that the police were attempting to coerce her into saying something. Crawford was killed in August by police while holding an airsoft rifle he picked up off a shelf in Walmart. In addition to grilling his girlfriend, police also resorted to threats of jail time and accusations that she was lying or on drugs. A grand jury decided not to indict the officer that shot Crawford, which caused his name to be added with the names of Michael Brown and Eric Garner in protests across the country. ISIS has taken to using a new kind of bomb in their offensives against opponents in the field: scorpion bombs. This is not the name of a new technology, but truth in advertising, since the bombs are filled with live poisonous scorpions. While this shows some degree of ingenuity, ISIS did not come up with this idea on their own. Scorpion bombs were used in Iraq before, during a war against the Roman Empire. On the other side of the war against ISIS, the U.S. is introducing a new bullet to the battlefield. Instead of just regular rounds, U.S. snipers will soon be able to use smart bullets that can sense laser sights, hitting where the laser is pointing. This means that U.S. snipers will have a much higher success rate when attempting to hit moving targets, assuming that they can keep the laser trained on their targets. This will be useful in attacking ISIS in the field, making it possible to hit small moving targets from a significant distance. Pennsylvania federal judge Arthur Schwab has determined that Obama's executive amnesty is unconstitutional. According to Schwab, the executive order goes, quote, beyond prosecutorial discretion. As a result of that, the order itself is unconstitutional. Schwab, who was appointed by President George W. Bush in 2002, also used Obama's own words against him, pointing out that the president was opposed to this sort of action previously. Schwab concluded, quote, President Obama's unilateral legislative action violates the separation of powers provided for in the U.S. Constitution, as well as the Take Care Clause, and therefore is unconstitutional. I'm Liz Harrison, and this has been your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for Wednesday, December 17th.
Welcome back to the last half hour. Howsam, I can't even believe we got an hour in the bank, but the final half hour, the right mics with Mike Miller, Michael Howsam, 412-567-6879. Well, I'm not sure you should call in now. Howsam, we got like 27 minutes and we got 9 things to cover. I'm thinking we're not going to get to them, but something that we do need to get to, dude, is today's episode of Sensitivity Training. Because that's...
Oh, that just hit me as funny, man. That's perfect.
Well, because that's what we're all about. That's exactly what we're all about. So here's the deal. And I can't believe that I didn't think of this first, but we need to focus more on gender-sensitive data as a country. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, we need to better understand ourselves in a terrible way we treat women and girls in America, Michael. It's all about, we need to gather more gender-sensitive data, man.
Oh, you know what? I really, really think you're right about that. It's just, part of the reason it was funny is that I just finished up this article about Michelle Obama's comments about being black that she did for people.
Yeah, shoot me.
Yeah, I'm looking actually at John Ransom's editorial about it on Town Hall, and there's no way IJ Review would have published it. But just a couple of comments that Bubba made to me in a private thread about what he does not want me to do. And
which happens on a daily basis, I'm sure.
That insensitivity thing just really, really
So like
Anyway,
she's talking about like when she was at, was it Target where she was supposedly undercover? So
yeah, let's not ruin that because we'll
what?
walk through it
All
tomorrow
right,
when my article goes up.
but
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, let's talk about
The sensitivity
being
training, gender
yes.
sensitive data. Deputy Secretary of State. I love this. Heather Higginbottom. It's like that's something out of a cartoon. She hooked up with, and again, not in the biblical sense, although I don't know much about Heather, but hooked up with Hillary and former New York Mayor Mikey Bloomberg in New York Monday. This thing is called Data 2X, and the purpose is to, quote, promote gender sensitive data. This organization is, this will shock the hell out of you. It's United Nations Foundation sponsored, and here's what it says. It's, quote, named for the power women have to multiply progress in their societies, advance gender equality and women's empowerment by building partnerships to improve data collection and demonstrating how better data on the status of women and girls can guide policy, leverage investments, and inform global development agendas. I don't know what the hell that all meant, dude, but are you in?
Well, I am all in for gender equality. Let me just look at this, man, because this may not be, this may not, frankly, this may not offer us the sensitivity insights that we're looking at. Now, I don't know if you read down to the bottom that they're not separating out transgender data.
Well, see,
So,
that's the next. See, we got to get this first. All right, we got to get the sensitivity data as it relates to women and girls, as you and I understood them growing up, and then I think then you graduate to the transgender thing and the rest.
I'm not sure why we as a society can't swallow that entire elephant in one big gulp, Mike.
Wow. So Obama State Department on board says the empowerment of women and girls is a foundational goal of U.S. foreign policy, along with what global warming and promoting Islam throughout the world.
Okay, wait a second. I do find something that does make my head explode on this.
Okay.
Okay, the U.S. government strongly believes that advancing gender equality is among the most transformative goals the globe can set. Okay, a couple thoughts about that. Number one, I can pretty much tell you that the globe is not setting goals as a globe, number one. And secondly, amongst all the issues, the percentage of people that are going to die today because they don't have access to clean water or sufficient food, or the amount of people that will have to dominate their entire day trying to figure out how to make a buck because their countries are so incredibly non-freedom, non-private property oriented. So if we set aside the water, food, and free market issues, gender equality is one of the most transformative global issues. I mean, I don't mean to demean issues such in the Middle East where women literally are chattel
Sure.
property, but I think that the State Department here is overstating the case ever so slightly.
So what I hear you saying, as you talk about when you get up, your primary objective is to feed yourself and find potable water. I think what I hear you saying, it's just not women and girls who need to do this, right? You're actually including men, dare I say, and boys in the situation.
Well, here's the thing, man, is, setting aside the joking for a second, men and women should be treated equally, no question
Of
about that.
course, of course.
That's no question about that. And secondly, as far as actual data goes, if, for example, like they make reference to AIDS, if separating sexes for whatever data mining thing that they're doing, if that actually helps advance a particular medical cause or helps identify, if in for example, they're referring to AIDS here. If AIDS in Africa is primarily a male thing, or how is it transferred? I mean, that kind of separation of gender is helpful.
Sure.
For the specific purpose. But if it's just done for the notions of political correctness, that if it's additional make work categories that have actually no impact on the point of whatever study, then that's just politically correct nonsense, and it's a waste of time and money for the sake of entirely being symbolic over anything substantive.
I agree with you. And you mentioned AIDS, and again, to be serious here for a second, I mean, as it relates to gender, when my daughter was in college, she went on a mission trip to Kenya. We did not want her to go, but and her younger brother at the time said, "Daddy, just tell her not to go." Well, she's an adult; she can go. But they spent a lot of time in the Kibera slums. And arguably, along with Calcutta, you see it back and forth, largest slum in the world. But men in that slum, there was, maybe still is, the belief that if they had AIDS, the way to get rid of it was to, man, I shouldn't have gone down this path, but in effect, rape their baby girls, because they believed that that would rid them of AIDS. So definitely, I mean, there's horrific stuff going on out there, but yeah,
yeah, right.
I mean, I just find, in well, I don't know. Maybe we should let this one go. But I just think that there is just so much emphasis now, be it like this way reason you and I do it. I mean, the gender thing or the race thing or whatever have you. But it struck me as interesting.
Yeah, well, I'd say that based upon the tone and tenor of what I could see there, it's primarily symbolic over anything substantive.
Exactly.
Hey, speaking of things that are symbolic, let's talk about the top 10 political lies of 2014.
There we go.
All right. So, folks, this is an article that I put up yesterday on ijreview.com. It's WAPO reveals the top 10 political lies of 2014, and people really outdid themselves. So, Mike, you're familiar with the WAPO Pinocchio that they give, right?
Those stories always work great on IJR.
Oh, yeah. And here it is, folks. What happens is anytime there's some sort of significant political ad or politician that makes a comment or statement about something, as a result of whatever fact-checking that's done, Washington Post awards Pinocchios to them. And the obvious implication is that, Pinocchio lied and his nose grew. And the top award you can get is a 4 Pinocchio. And if something said receives a 4 Pinocchio, that means that it is complete and utterly and totally fraudulent, wrong, deceptive in every possible way. All right. So this list are all from 4 Pinocchio winners, and then they're not in any particular order, but they're the top 10 lies of the year. Now, Mike, do you have this open? You want to go back and forth on it?
Sure.
All right. Why don't you take the pleasure of going through the first one?
Well, this one it's hilarious and tragic at the same time because he later denied it. Well, this is the lie, right? This is Barack Obama, who said, by the way, in January of this year, that he wasn't worried about ISIS or ISIL, as he likes to. The whole regime, by the way, calls him ISIL. That's the original name. So we got to respect Islam in the Levant. But he said, quote, "I didn't call the Islamic State a JV team." And complete nonsense. And again, I need to paraphrase here, but he said, in effect, that you can put a Lakers uniform on a JV team, but that doesn't make him Kobe Bryant, right? So of course he said that.
Right. Okay, so Sorry
Yeah.
about that, Mike. So the second one, and by the way, the WAPO is no respecter of political parties. The number two one they had put up is when Rand Paul said that John McCain met with Islamic State terrorists. Turns out not true. John McCain never met with Islamic terrorists.
Yeah, and there were pictures